I know I know we were just discussing that we had seen Paul Schrader's new movie, First Reformed, so I think that's a good place to start. Because it's one of the boldest movies of the year. It's definitely a return to form for Mr. Schrader, who exploits another sort of snowy New England background to tell the story of a troubled priest at the title church, First Reformed. What is it, Presbyterian? Is it?
Yeah, I believe it is.
Yeah, it's a Presbyterian church, old 17th century church that was used as part of the Underground Railroad back in the slave days, and as a stop on the railroad for runaway slaves. And he takes up at this modest church that is overseen by none other than Cedric the Entertainer, operating under his real name.
That's right.
I think that's for the first time, and he's operating also without his wig and so forth, and his barbershop wig or whatever, and so if you didn't know this, I didn't know that he was in it, and I was completely flummoxed when it was all over when found out.
Here.
But
Same here.
So Ethan Hawke takes up at this church and gets visited by a very troubled parishioner who's working in the environmental industry, protesting it and so forth, and is troubled because he's found out that his wife is about to have their first baby, and he doesn't want to bring a baby into this threatened world, and he decides to take further action. And of course, as this is from at least the writer of Taxi Driver, you can expect to see some very, very interesting things in the last half of this movie that really flummoxed the audience that I was with. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but after the movie, which I loved, I thought it was great. I thought it was absolutely Schrader's return to making terrific movies like Affliction and Hardcore and so many of those earlier movies. Blue Collar, of course, but this had more of an affinity with Taxi Driver than almost any other movie that I think he's ever made, which is really strange to say, because it's rather location-wise, it's rather static, and there's a lot of beautiful, New England locations in it and everything, but there's nothing like Taxi Driver in it. But there's no crazy nighttime scenes of chaos and mayhem, but there are incredibly almost spiritually transcendent scenes, particularly in its last third. And the movie kind of enraged the audience that I was with. There was a whole cabal of filmgoers, gathered at the exit, and I said, "This is the conversation I wanted to stumble in on." And sure enough, they were confused by it, and one of them in particular was enraged by it. He was like, "What did I sit through?" I said, "Well, so I mean, I guess you didn't like it." And he said, "I fell asleep 6 times." And I said, "Well, if you fell asleep, I mean, you missed it, man. It's not a movie to. I can understand some people falling asleep in a Paul Schrader movie because they are very measured in their pacing, in their and in their. I don't know. There's chaos in them, but there's not a lot of noise. They're usually quite quiet, and this one's no different. And but I said, well, it sounds like you just weren't on board with it, like from the very beginning. It just wasn't the kind of movie you wanted to see. and maybe you just didn't know what you were getting into. Which I can totally understand. If you're just stumbling into First Reformed, you're going to be quite surprised by it. But you're not going to get your normal.
Ocean's 8 is sold out. Let's go see First Reformed.
First Reformed.
Yes, not the same venue.
Did you get a sense that a lot of the people that are maybe will be checking out this movie this weekend think it's like a nice post-Sunday church movie to go to? Or that it's
it's possible. It is quite possible that that's what they thought, or maybe they thought it was a Christian movie, perhaps, because those are getting a lot more popular in the multiplexes and so forth. A little bit more plentiful than they've been in the past few years, and so it's possible they might have stumbled into it, not knowing what they were getting into, but I thought that first of all, not only was it Schrader's best movie in a very long time. Again, I would go back to Affliction. It's probably his best movie since then, which that's 2 decades. But I would also count it as one of Ethan Hawke's greatest performances. And that's coming from, I think, I was saying before I went into the movie, I said, I think Ethan Hawke is the second greatest actor working in movies now, in all movies all around the world. I think that he's right behind Joaquin Phoenix as our finest actor, working.
Yeah,
at the top
and
of his game.
I think he definitely knows that he's got the dream career now for what he wants to do in movies, which isn't necessarily the headline of big action flick or anything like that. He wants to make meaningful movies that stretch him. And I'm telling you, like, however many years ago, I would never expect this to come out of Ethan Hawke. I would never have expected Ethan Hawke to represent that kind of consummate actor of soul-searching cinema.
There is a gosh, how can one describe the sort of trippy dream sequence that's in it? That's that is kind of I guess it can be counted as one of the most unusual sex scenes in movies ever.
Yeah.
Even though it's not quite sexual, but there is an element of it, as you will see if you're adventurous enough to go and see this movie. By the way, this is a short movie too. This movie is 90 minutes long. You were whisked in and whisked out into this world, and it does leave you with a sense of like, what did I just watch? And that I love that. I love that in movies when they send me to another world. This one definitely does that, and it surprises, and it is absolutely one of the best movies of the year. No question about it.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with everything you just said there. It's really good. It's really, and I wasn't sure. There's a lot of pre-release buzz, but it definitely lived up to what I'd been hearing. And yeah, that scene you're talking about, that love scene, is I guess transcendent is a good way to put it, because it
is literally transcendent. It literally is. It is so fantastic, and that's when the movie just goes into another place.
It does. Yeah.
It goes into another place to the point where I don't want to talk about where it goes. But
no.
But I do want to say that I'm not quite sure it actually happened. That's my thing. If that's just something I want to leave people with an idea that maybe it's not actually happening in the real world. It could be happening in sort of a temporal kind of world.
That was what I took away from it. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you're literal minded, it will definitely leave you with a thing of like, what? But and I know most people are, but just to me, it was a great achievement for Paul Schrader. It was Did you agree?
I did not get to see it. I did not get to see it because it's way out of town for me, and I wasn't able to get out to it. But maybe this weekend it'll be in my town. But I will say that I'm really pleased for Paul Schrader because he's had a run of bad luck lately with having movies taken away from him, and it's put him in a real depressive funk. So I'm glad that this First Reformed emerged from that, and he was able to do it the way he wanted to do it. And for those people that think that Schrader is anti spirituality or Christianity or what have you.
Oh, that's not the case. I don't think.
That's not the case at all. But he, throughout his career over the past 40 years, he has specialized in spiritual angst, and I think this is the latest example of that. So I'm thrilled to see it. I'm really looking forward to it.
It is great. It's one of the best. But you think about it. This is the guy who wrote the screenplay to Last Temptation of Christ, or at least a draft of it.
Yeah.
But you look at all throughout. Look at Taxi Driver. It's like this is not that far away from that kind of story. Kind of searching kind of story of loneliness. That's what all of these have in common. Even hardcore,
Right.
Yeah.
They are tales of a kind of a snowy, wintry loneliness, and this is just a. Geez, I was thinking the other day, who deserves a special Oscar more than Paul Schrader? Who? That really needs to happen, I could definitely see a world in which he gets, at least one Oscar nomination for this movie, which would be his first. We're talking about somebody who is an absolute legend in his craft, as a director, as a writer, as a film figure, as even a film commentator, a film critic, and this needs to be rectified. This whole idea that he's never even been nominated, which is just
it's crazy.
It's on the level of, in fact, it's surpassed now the level of incredulity that you had when you realized that Gordon Willis, had only been nominated for one Oscar by 1997 or whatever. That was nuts then, and this is nuts now. It absolutely needs to be addressed by the Academy.
Well, good. We'll start campaigning. We still got a little time to campaign for Schrader.
Yes, because they won't announce them until August or September or something. So, but Paul Schrader needs to be up there, man.
This is key. He is also a filmmaker of recurring theme. He's one of those guys that is obsessed with a certain character or breed of character that he's examined from different angles throughout his career. I mean, he himself has said that there is a direct line between Taxi Driver and Bringing Out the Dead, which he also wrote, and The Walker, which he wrote and directed. So I mean, especially he's very unique in terms of how he approaches masculinity and the loneliness that we try to fill unsuccessfully in various ways. So yeah, he's a special guy, and I'm glad he's still around, and just the smartest person to talk to. You talk to him, and you're in the presence of a writer, because because everything he says is like, hang on, let me write that down.
Yeah, I was going to mention that because, he wrote the book about Bresson, Robert Bresson, and I picked up on elements of two Bresson films in this one, The Death of a Country Priest and Pickpocket. There are certain elements from both of those that turn up here that have been, reconfigured to what's going on in the world today. But I wondered if there was some influence there from
there has to be.
Bresson. I picked that up.
Yeah.
And another thing I just wanted to add is that I thought this film was very technically proficient as well.
Mm-hmm.
Some of he does the swirling camera thing that's in De Palma and Hitchcock. The Hitchcock and De Palma both made famous, and he does that to great effect in the finale. You know what I'm talking about, Dean.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. But I thought that was a very effective choice. I thought it was interesting that this film is shot in 1.33:1. It's not a widescreen movie.
Yes. That will be a surprise to a lot of people. I know it was to me, getting in there and seeing that boxy screen, and I was like, oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what to expect now. It was what a great movie. I really dug it. It's not going to be for everybody. You have to go in with an adventurous spirit and a rather hungry one. But I think if you approach it in the correct mind frame, I think that you'll really dig it. Yeah.
And I think it's ultimately a hopeful movie.
It is.
In spite of the subject matter at hand and its presentation of the world in which we live, which is not depicted as such a positive place that we're heading towards in a very quick manner, which made me even more concerned and saddened and depressed than I already was about where we're heading. But having said that, it does have a hopeful note, although there is a lot of things to be alarmed about that this movie points out in a very
sobering
well
terms.
Done fashion.
Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, excellent stuff.
And Amanda Seyfried was terrific in it.
Sure was. Yeah.
In the supporting role as the wife of one of the parishioners that he tries to help, and she was superb in it, and it was just a really terrific movie. I mean, I just loved it. It didn't make me go out dancing through the aisles or anything like that.
No.
But
No.
I did not go out doing a big Toyota kick into the air or anything. But I dug it just the same.